Alul, of course, continues with Parakuf Yud Daled as they go into the next chapter. B'tzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim Beit Yaakov me'am lo ez. When Israel left Egypt, when the house of Jacob left from a people of a strange speech, a foreign speech. Doesn't necessarily, the word strange is a interesting different definition, strange definition, if you were, right? The Jews were amongst the people who didn't speak their language. They needed to remain different from them. But the Jewish people are leaving. They left Egypt. Haita Yuda lekodsho Yisrael mam shalotav. Judah became God's Holy One. Judah became God's, in a sense, dominion. You can wonder whether this is a reference specifically, the midrashic idea of Nachshon ben Aminadav, as the commentators say. It doesn't say in the Torah anywhere. This is a midrashic well-known story that a man from the tribe of Yehuda, Nachshon ben Aminadav, went into the water, and the water came up to his neck, and the water, then separated. That's not the description in the Torah, but in the Midrash, it's Nachshon ben Aminadav who does this, who is B'Kadei Shem Shamayim, who shows the ability, that the belief in God, that God will protect him, and it sort of becomes this very important story, this courageous moment. Who's going to be a Nachshon? Who's going to be leading the Jewish people? Who's going to take that moment of bravery like him? And so we can see through this verse, this midrashic notion of Nachshon. Continuing verse 3, Pasuk Gimel, Hayam Ra'av Vayanos, Hayardein Yisov La'achor. The sea saw them, and it fled. The Jordan ran backwards, right? The waters of creation split, and so the waters are going in all sorts of different ways because of seeing them, presumably them meaning Bnei Yisrael. Haharim rakdu che'elim givot k'nei tzon. The mountains skipped like rams, the hills like sheep, right? Everything is moving in a different way than they usually do. Some turn and say that this is no longer referring to Kriyat Yamsuf, but this is referring to the time of Matan Torah, even. That's an implication to that, because we're talking about the mountains. Malecha hayam kitanus hayardein tisov liachar. What scared you, see, that you fled? Jordan, what was it? Why did you do this? Why did you move in the other direction? Haharim tirkadu che'elim givaot kivnei tzon. The mountains that you skipped like rams, the hills like sheep. Why were you acting in a way that is not in the natural order of the way that you're supposed to act? Milifnei Adon chuli aretz milifnei Eloah Yaakov. So, right, who created the earth is God. And so they're trembling at the presence of God, at the presence of the God of Jacob. That is why they're turning back. That's why they're moving back. They're scared. They're worried, because all of a sudden God, who created them, but is up high, is afar. All of a sudden, when God is close by, there's trembling, there's fear, there's worry, turning back, moving away. God, who turned the rock into water, who can take, right, just a simple flint and turn it into a fountain. And so God's presence is so overwhelming that the mountains and the seas, and we think about the mountains and the seas, you look up to the mountain, it's so vast, it's so enormous, so difficult to climb, we can't get all the way up, we need an oxygen tank. So they seem enormous and large and great and above and beyond what as humans we can grasp and we can think of, but compared to God, they are nothing. They're trembling, they're small, they're tiny, they're scared, they're running away. Water, which can be such a powerful force that can cause such immense destruction, but when they feel the presence of God, their creator, they are turning away, they're turning the other way, they are terrified. And so here in this chapter, many chapters talk about God's love. We talked a couple of chapters ago about God's kindness and God's goodness and the tzedakah and the chesed of God. This is a chapter where it's talking about not the people, but the um, uh, mountains and seas and rivers, natural parts of geography and of the planet that understand and need to be fearful of God when God comes to support the Jewish people. And just as the Jewish people were coming out and things seemed a little strange, they were me'am lo eis, and so things are different in a sense. We're seeing here a place where almost like the mountains and the rivers and the seas are feeling, in a sense, out of place. They're not in their normal way of doing things, because all of a sudden the big boss is around, and therefore they are all terrified.